Good day, good day everyone. Our presentation is Globalization and Regionalization at a glance of debate in pursuit of guiding principles leading policy implementation. For the introduction,
In this introduction, we will know the ideas and reaction of our management that has a different interpretation about globalization and regionalization. The following management are British Journal of Management of 2012, European Management Journal or EMJ of 2009, International Marketing Review IMR of 2009, and Management International Review or MIR in 2005. Even though they didn't have any sources to compare, so they decided to study the two terms better so that they can have a concrete justification because there's a lot of doubts in choosing sides that micro and macro actors experiencing.
In this index is the process of creating networks of connections among actors at multi-continental distances, mediated through a hierarchy of flows including people, information, and ideas.
Silicon.
Next is next is globalization. The term globalization is explained using literature. So the term globalization is not available in 20th century, but in 1981, according to Philip Cove, the word actually existed in a 1961 American English dictionary. And
Regionalization. Here, because of the model is still undecided whether it is successful or not, a new set of questions is launched in which scholars are curious about replication of EU model. EU Commission has clearly mentioned that the presence of similar nature of EU sources, goals, policies, or institutions elsewhere in the world with identical characteristics is not possible. Therefore, EU model of regional integration is not directly imitable or transferable.
Globalization and regionalization divided, and integration versus disintegration. As you can see, based on the presentation, there are bilateral trade. This is the exchange of goods between two nations, promoting trade and investment. In this part, it explains the integration and disintegration, and it says that it has a different and similar interpretation, especially if it's connected to globalization and regionalization. Integration is the act or process of making a whole or entire, while disintegration is a process by which anything disintegrates in world or country. Connectedness and detachment. For the short explanation, it says that through interconnectedness and interdependentness, countries which are less efficient in production became efficient and achieved specialization by realizing comparative advantages.
Free versus restricted. Free versus restricted, it is all about globalization na sinusulong siya all through these years na dapat borderless yung globalization. Kumbaga, walang boundaries. Yung kahit saang bansa pwedeng mag-angkat ng or magbaba ng goods or products. And yung kinakailangan na i-expand or lakihan yung pagpapalitan ng product or goods ng libre para lahat merong karapatan or merong kakayahan na makapasok sa iba't ibang bansa. Merong merong malakihan na produkto or market na tinatawag. Sinusulong ang free versus restricted kasi it shows power of unity at mas nakakatulong or nagpapataas ito sa pagpapalaki ng ating ekonomiya. Next, homogeneous versus heterogeneous. Um, Ito naman yung pagkakaroon ng same products worldwide. For example, yung sushi, sa Japan talaga siya originated. Pero dahil mas nagiging connected yung market, mas nagiging popular and paborito na rin siya ng iba't ibang bansa. Gaya rin ng samgyup, di naman siya originated sa bansa natin, pero tinatangkilik. Kasi habang mas nag-aambagan ng mga sariling products, like ng mga product services, mas nagiging universal or iisa yung mga napoproduce sa marketplace.
So, just a quick recap. So, with all the information presented by researchers, we can say that the possibility of limiting GNR do not exhaust. The concept is large and broad, so gaining consensus of these two is hard. Researchers did not define the two, rather demonstrated the distinctiveness of GNR.
So, the goal is to create a homogenized world. Then there will be no natural religion entities, and such regional entities will have to be created by the world itself. Those regions must have values from the global rainbow or be similar to a global omelette with components from various locations.
Connected within rather outside. Diyan, sinasabi na bago ma-attain ng isang bansa, yung sovereignty at autonomy as its best, kailangan daw makipag-connect or makipag-ugnayan ng gobyerno sa mga nasasakupan niya. Maraming dahilan kung bakit nagkakaroon ng threat yung sovereignty ng isang bansa. Katulad nung pagpapakita ng gobyerno ng pagkakaiba, malaking pagkakaiba ng mahihirap sa mga mayayaman. Meron ding corruption, yung desire nila para mag-strengthen yung rule and power nila. Nagtitrigger yon ng inability ng gobyerno para mag-develop ng global policies at strategies para maka-attract ng mga foreign direct investors. Meaning, hindi lang globalization at regional, regionalization ang nagkakos ng threat sa isang sovereignty ng isang bansa. Mas nagkakos ng threat ang internal conflicts na nagaganap sa loob ng isang bansa. Next. Free but fair and fearless. Ang isang fair globalization, nagka-create siya ng opportunity sa lahat at sinisigurong yung benefits ng globalization ay nakikinabang ng pantay-pantay. Ibig sabihin, bago ma-attain yung fair globalization, malaki yung role ng gobyerno. Kasi yung government, meron silang mga policies na nagpo-protect sa interest ng lahat, hindi lang sa mga mayayaman at sa mga powerful na tao, kundi sa lahat ng mga mamamayan ng isang bansa. Fair globalization can support small producers to improve their performance. Ibig sabihin, yung mga small producers, yung fair globalization, malaki rin yung ambag nila doon para mag, makapag, makapag-perform sila ng mas maayos at mag-strengthen pa para makapag-compete sila sa trade.
Building economics block. Ito daw yung
isang hanay ng bansa na magkakasama sa international na kalakalan at kadalasan nauugnay sa pamamagitan ng isang libreng kasunduan sa kalakal o iba pang samahan. Ang bansa ay makakagawa ng produkto kung saan mayroon silang kinakailangang kakayahan. Ang mga proseso kung saan iipon nila ang kakayahan at katangian ng isang bansa ay sa isang ekonomiya na maaaring makaapekto sa kanila. Sinusubukan lamang nitong paunlarin ang hakbang sa pagiging komplikado ng ekonomiya sa isang bansa.
Follow linear trajectory. Sabi naman dito na ayon daw sa model na prinusenta ni Kim at Aguilera noong taong 2015, ayon sa kanila na ang mga relasyon ng bawat bansa sa isa't isa ay dumadali dahil sa globalisasyon. Siyempre dahil nga may mga ugnayan na yung bawat bansa sa isa't isa kaya mas nagiging madali sa kanila yung maipag-ugnayan.
As a conclusion, I would like to say that this lesson contained in each topic that was really hard to achieve because the concepts are large and broad. Besides that, if sincere efforts are made to make a difference instead of globalization regionalization, then there are some areas where this debate can spread and policy can be made, keeping certain points in mind. I was happy with our presentation and it was good that we presented it well. So guys, I have a question for you. How regionalization and globalization differ and how are they linked with each other?
Based on my research, regionalization is a process that is generally similar to globalization, but can compete with it to some degree. The main similarity is that in both cases, there is a movement towards economic integration of more than one country.
Wow. And how does regionalization affect globalization?
Regionalism, by its nature, is inseparably linked with politics goals, cultural values, and historical aspects. But now, the concept of regionalization is the concept that helps study the nature of regional cooperation. And regionalization is understood as the answer to globalization forces. Besides, regionalization is considered only as an evolutionary link in the development of general global economic system.
Yes, I agree with you, Miss Nalisa. But what is the role of regionalization and globalization in our country or world?
Let me answer that question. For me, the role of regionalization to globalization in our country or world is the one of the manifestation of globalization. At the same time, it is the opposite trend. Many developing countries see regionalization as an attempt to confront global competition. Regionalisasyon ay nakikita bilang isang pagtangka ng maraming mga umuunlad na bansa nakikipagkompetensya sa pandaigdig. Tugon ang regionalismo.
So interesting. However, I have a question. What do you think are the opportunities and challenges in regionalization and globalization?
Globalization is an established part of the modern world, but most of us do not realize the benefits it brings to our lives. Marami sa atin yung di na gaano napapalagan yung magandang epekto ng globalisasyon, gaya na lang ng pagkakaroon ng mga easy access ng mga technologies na na-develop kahit pa sa ibang bansang malalayo. Kung di dahil sa globalisasyon ay di natin magagamit at mapanaban ng mga iyon.
Indeed, this discussion is very interesting. In this way, we seem to better understand the correct meaning of globalization and regionalization. But in other hand, I have a question for all of you guys. Do you think poor governance and internal conflicts were caused by globalization and regionalization?
Well, I think economic forces eco- create the economy. Every nation or state can participate in this global team, but only if they have the economic power. But remember that the order or the level depends on status of the country or its capability. For me, I think hindi siya nagko-cause ng anything na which is the poor governance or internal conflict. It is how the governments or how they handle it or how they how they do the approach.
So, what lesson did you learn from what we discussed, and how does it help to improve our knowledge as students?
Um, for me, I've learned a lot about other countries and become interested in various cultures, traditions, and religions. And we acquire a daily sense of understanding, compassion, or hatred for other people, nations, and cultures.
Also, globalization helps us to improve our ability as a student. However, our learners' ability to access, analyze, and adapt knowledge is enhanced by globalization. Dahil dito, tinutulungan tayo nito na to think independently, exercise appropriate judgment, and interact with others to make sense of unfamiliar situations.
On the topic presented in this article, what parts that stick in your mind that you can say that you were suddenly enlightened?
Shane, ikaw na.
It's really, ay, ang nag-enlight sa akin at nag-stuck sa akin ay yung globalization. Kasi ang globalization, it allows companies to find lower cost ways na, to produce their products. At natandaan ko din yung globalization, increases global competition, which drives prices down and create a larger variety of choices for consumer. Ang globalization din kasi teach us to growing interdependence of the world's economies, cultures, and populations.
But does globalization and regionalization converge? How and do when do they converge?
Let me explain that question. Regionalization is a form of national sovereignty, which is a preservation of of a unique culture in a specific area. For example, as Mariqueños, kilala yung Marikina sa paggawa ng mga sapatos na matitibay at tumatagal ng tumatagal. Hanggang ngayon, nasa kultura pa rin natin yon at meron pa rin mga stores, ang mga factories na gumagawa ng mga matitibay na sapatos. Ibig sabihin, hindi pa rin nawawala yung pagmamahal natin sa kulturang nakilala tayo. Thus, globalization is a world dissolving of national and ethnic and cultural identity which brings on a conflict with multiculturalism when it forces its way to make people be what they are not meant to be.
And for the last question, do countries integrate equally with different parts of the world?
For the last question, globalization is the connection of different parts of the world. In general, globalization has been shown and to increase the standard of living in developing countries. But some analysts warn that globalization can have a negative effect on local or emerging economies and individual workers. That's all.
Thank you guys for this great discussion where we further learned the meaning of globalization and regionalization. However, hopefully this lesson can be used in the future lesson. For the task given, here are four questions related to globalization and regionalization.
When secularization, teka lang. Ito na. Sorry when secularization increases, what could replace religion?
Kapag ang secularization ay tumataas, it may result in our modern societies foregoing any benefits associated with religious belief and active participation. However, when it progressively increases, it could replace our religion for being society's great lacks cultural authority. And really religious organizations that have a little social power. So, meaning it is possible that priest, minister, or prominent church leader can lose their authority to influence people to faithfully serve and genuinely believe in God over the society.
Is religion affected by globalization? Or does globalization affected religion?
Yes.
For me, globalization affects the religion. Yung globalization, isa siyang evolution. At yung evolution, nagkakos siya ng may dala siyang pagbabago sa isang society. Katulad ng dati. Dati hindi naman ganun karami ang religion. Pero ngayon, dumami na. Nagkaroon na ng Sabadist, ng mga bagong religion na mas may pinapaniwalaan sila.
Sa naintindihan ko, dati wala silang unity, tas parang things happen and both globalization and religion realize na meron silang similarities when it comes to values. And later on, accepted that none of them is correct.
Yun nga, halos same din naman hanggang ngayon na wala rin silang unity. Doon pa lang sa hindi na natanggal yung mga debate ngayon. Then makikita mo pa lang doon pa lang magkakaiba na talaga ng paniniwala. Then for number 3 question. Do you see the possibility for religions to cooperate or there will be more religious conflicts?
For me, I think um, there will be no conflict at all now. I think mas in favor pa nga since gagamitin yung technology as a mode. I mean, it's their mode na ma-spread yung word or gusto nila na makapaghikayat pa ng ibang tao to their religious organization. So I think there will be no conflict unless some other people parang nabubuhay pa rin sila from sa dati. that they don't want anything na bago.
For the
Ano,
last question,
um,
sige.
for me, religions of beliefs. So, I think that when globalization cross the line from their beliefs, I do not think that they will cooperate.
For the last question, do you think there is a religious intolerance in the Philippines? Explain your answer.
For me, yes. Unwillingly accepting someone's belief is common here in the Philippines. We have different religions, so basically we have different beliefs.
For me also, it's yes, because we are in the democratic country, so that we have freedom of choice to express our own feelings of what we will choose.
For me din, yes. Kasi may mga tao din na um, yung mga belief ng ibang tao is nire-respeto nila. Like mga Muslim, ganyan. Kahit magkakaiba tayo ng mga religious, yung mga ibang tao is parang nire-respeto nila yun ng walang judgments, tapos walang tawag nun, walang mga halong um, basta walang halong judgments yung pagtatanggap pagtatanggap ng mga ng mga tao ngayon about sa mga sa mga about sa conflict ay sa may intolerance the Philippines ganun.
May addition pa kayo. Christine, what's your opinion?
Dito kasi sa ating Pilipinas, sa opinion ko lang, hindi common yung religious intolerance kasi wala naman document to any complaints involving intolerance or discrimination. Pero, syempre, di ba, iba-iba naman tayo ng, may mga tao na feel nila na discriminate sila. But this act did not result in the violation of law about their rights.
So, thank you guys. I hope this lesson can be used for the future, yes.